but that's also like that. Isn't that more to do as well with like where you meet them and because the remit was definitely to do like 8 gyms of types that you didn't have in
Yeah,
the first gen.
yeah,
Like we didn't have a fight, we didn't have a proper fighting gym. So let's give
yeah.
you give you a proper one here. Likewise with like all the types you've had there weren't done bar what Dark didn't get a gym,
Yeah.
until like Gen 5 or 6 or something ludicrous like that. Um,
Gen 5 had a
had
no.
Elite Four. Yeah, they had an Elite Four gem that was dark. Like dark types were always like the Elite Fours. So like Karen.
Wasn't there a dark type in Unova?
Do you know what? I don't think there was. I don't think there was a dark
Black
type
2,
gym until Sword and Shield because they
Black
made a
2,
point about that, didn't they?
Black 2 had the Grunger. Was she not a dark type?
No, Roxy was poison. Roxy was poison.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna go through here and just like you know, uh, in the core series here we are. So this gym leader, here we are. So yeah, obviously we have the traditional 8 there. You lads will know these ones by heart, but you got rock, water, electric, grass, poison, psychic, fire, and ground. And obviously blue kind of like ends up being a kind of a hodgepodge himself. In Gen 2 you had flying, bug, normal, ghost, fighting, steel, ice, and
Hmm.
dragon. Gen 3, bit of a mix: rock, fighting, electric, fire, normal, flying, psychic, and water. Um, then in Gen 4, variations on that theme: rock, grass, fighting, water, ghost, steel, ice, and electric. Um, so then Unova, so you have the 3 waiters that had
Yeah.
the flavored monkeys, normal, bug, electric, ground, flying, ice, and dragon. So again, they
This is
still
where
gonna do it.
this is where I really like that as an approach. That
It's
the
good. Yeah,
first three
yeah,
goes
yeah.
like
I
that.
like that.
But I saw it built on well in the Uranium playthrough that we did. That there were theme
Mm,
gyms, and I thought that was a great shout to combine types, combine abilities. Here are things that we're going to have gyms that they want to have a baton pass strategy. So good luck trying to figure out something to counter baton passes.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the difference in the
Or
fan games because they're made for for anoraks like us. It's like Uranium you mentioned there having like say location based themes. So here's like a beach gym.
yeah,
So here's like water, grass, and ground. Brilliant, clever, great idea. And then Insurgents being like, okay, here's just objectively really good trainers with good strategies. Um, rather than just being tied down to a type.
hmm.
Or even wasn't like kind of gimmick based almost. It had like, oh, this guy is all about like is a sunny day team as opposed to anything else.
First
Like
thing
that
that's
shit's
weird. You
smart.
are here. The only reason you got caught out was because you were not wearing your lab coat.
Yeah. Speaking of someone whose line of work is very similar to that, agreed. Um, you look very out of place if you weren't. So yeah, I'm looking through here. So like even in black, the only difference is Roxy being added in instead of the 3 monkeys, and she's poison. And then you have the last gym being a water type gym instead. So then Gen 6, which is one that I tend to forget a lot. You got bug, rock, fighting, grass, electric, fairy, psychic, ice.
Hmm.
Um, and then the Galar League is grass, water, fire, fighting or ghost, depending on your game, fairy, rock or ice, depending on your game, dark, and dragon.
Okay, but Black and White had a dark gym leader in the old cop.
Oh,
Anu.
yes, that was Hop. Yeah, whatever his name was.
Anu.
Yeah, yeah, he did. That was right. Yeah, so you could between the two of them, yeah, you could say that he's like intrinsic, not like just by default, he is the
Yeah.
um the first dark gym leader. But I know he's not officially whatever semantics you want to throw into that.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I'd say like between then and now, obviously in Scarlet and Violet there is no dark type gym leader. So you have I don't know. There's no really kind of like natural order to this, I suppose. But like what it says here on the website is bug, grass, electric, water, normal, ghost, psychic, ice. But I think it's either Psychic or Ghost that's the kind of top gym leader in that. So there you go. Definitely like but definitely Dark always seems to be kind of represented more in the Elite Four than anything else because it's kind of seen as a trickier type. So no, like Karen is the Dark type leader in Gen 2, and then you had Grimsley in Gen 5, and could possibly be one more in between that I just can't remember off the top of my head. Like it does amuse me somewhat. Like the lab coat stuff makes complete sense, but the ski glasses that they're wearing is objectively hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that's not only does it protect you from whatever weird materials they're playing with, but they look cool as well. So add a bonus. Because as we know, scientists are very much based in their aesthetics. As you can tell, my Hariyama is getting his fucking arse kicked here because his special defense is so bad.
Special defense is bad and paralysis. So
yeah, so not great. But yeah, even when you're talking about the Gen kind of 2 thing as well, is that Gen 2 Pokemon really kind of came into its own once the move sets started to expand a bit. When they got more options to play with. Like in a weird way, if you were to move your Gen 2 guys over to Ruby and Sapphire, oh my god, they come alive. They've got like so many other moves to play with and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas weirdly enough, actually, I think with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you actually see some of them really like actually becoming killers. Like I'm thinking to myself, like with say types like Bug and Steel and Dark and all them start to be taken a bit more seriously. Be given actual like decent moves and stuff. The likes of Heracross and Scizor become really, really decent, and then actually, at least forget the abilities as well. So, in a weird way, that was such a crucial thing for them to actually, get their shit together in a sense.
So many of them, actually, how many of them were just hurt by abilities in that short term between they got introduced with no abilities, and then because abilities were introduced, they might have gotten the short end of the stick.
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
And then getting their evolution again, put them back onto a better playing field.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at this and see if there's anything that kind of screams out at me and thinking like, what would I have used in Gold and Silver prior to their abilities? Like some abilities have saved some Pokemon, whereas some have just like made them worse, or not even worse, but just hasn't improved them in any stretch. So yeah, we'll look now and see, because that's genuinely making me curious now. Like you could probably say that like the starters wouldn't have really benefited from their kind of like their generic abilities.
Gliscor would be one that it can have Poison Heal as its special ability.
Yeah.
Whereas Gligar didn't have that, so it's one that got saved by its evolution.
Yeah, because I'm even trying to think now. Like it's like some Pokemon definitely would have benefited more so from the physical and special split.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. And then when they actually went like, okay, let's like keep the move specific to the type to what it is. So yeah. I mean so what, like you say, the remit is now like what was useful back then that isn't now, just based off the typing stuff. I suppose like things would have been less awkward, like just generally speaking.
Like, okay, Porygon 2 would have had Trace as its only ability, but then it was able to get adaptability. Was it adaptability that they got there, or was it?
Yeah, like adaptability.
Yeah. Got it that, or it got download.
Let's see.
So by it getting that, it either got stab is twice is stab in general is better, or it got a massive just pure attack boost.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to think. I can't really find anything that was less useful without its ability on this list. So on what I'm looking at, I'm only just looking at Gen 2 specifically.
Well, Porygon 2 had Trace, which is fairly useless.
It's fairly useless, yeah. Like I'm even thinking even just stats wise. Like this is what I'm trying to figure out. Like everything did everything got more viable with just having different options because there's more ways to skin a cat. So I'm trying to think now, what was a pain in the hole to get rid of at the time, but now you have an answer to. So like, I don't know, Wobbuffet? You know, like Wobbuffet you can kind of get yourself stuck in quicksand a little bit, you know, because it had such a health P difference, and then suddenly you just have that shit bounce back at you, you know? Let's see what else. Like a lot of the ones that would have like say just like really just like some unfortunate typing, you know. So if you have a grass type or a fire type, you're fine for some of them, you know. Maybe Togetic, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but like its abilities stayed the same. It could have Hustle or it could have Serene Grace. Why would anyone ever actually use Hustle? It makes no sense.
Yeah, maybe Crobat actually. Crobat never really benefited from anything. It just kind of stayed. It stayed the same, whereas everyone else kind of got better.
Yeah, Crobat just looked like it was a cool variant instead of Pidgeot.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like if I'm 10 years old, it's a 3-stage. That has to be better than a 2-stage. It's an extra stage.
Yeah, for sure.
Therefore, Pidgeot is better than Fearow.
It's also another thing as well where like you don't really appreciate if something is good until you see that it has something going for it, you know? I'd say Donphan, actually.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking like Donphan would have been a pure ground type, right? So it's benefiting from not having a rock attached to it in a sense. So it's not as bad on the weaknesses. It's still so much of a kind of like a top heavy Pokemon in terms of like it has a solid attack stat, defense stat that you could just go right, Earthquake, roll out, takedown, tickety bam. It will plow through a kind of it'll be like a proverbial flat track bully for you, and then eventually you can switch out like and hit something else. Because I'm also thinking to myself, a lot of Pokemon like end up being very vulnerable with double battles and stuff. So you can't necessarily do like you can flat track as much as you can in Gen 1 and Gen 2 because no one else can reply to you in that time if you're up against the right type of trainers, you know. But then when you get into Gen 3 onwards, like any doubles battles, you're like you can't play that sort of game. They have to be a bit more strategic, you know. That's what I'm thinking of there. I mean, I'm kind of I would be I can't say something like Ampharos, for instance, because Ampharos is just good regardless, you know, because it had good stats, it had good types, and you know it got like a bone thrown to it for like stuff like megas and just overall kind of like it can learn this obscure move type of thing. So yeah, I guess like do you know, weird enough, a Pokemon that actually really benefited from all that shit was Tyranitar, you know, because but Tyranitar was almost like if you can work to get this Pokemon, you kind of win everything. But that's only because like there's still only like 4 or 5 fighting moves in the game. You know what I mean? And it can probably bluff its way through most things. So and you probably say this actually, do you know what? Kingdra. If you manage to get a Kingdra in Gen 2 pro bono by doing the trades and the Dragon Scale and all that jazz, like good fucking luck finding something that's going to beat it, because you know how many dragon moves are in the game at that point? 2, isn't it? Like it's just Dragon Rage and Dragon Breath. So that's the only move that's going to be.
Was Dragon Breath Gen 2 or Gen 4?
Gen 2, because that's the TM you win for beating Claire.
Okay.
So that's the only move that's super effective again. Twister, actually, yeah, you're right. So all right, so you got Twister and Dragon Breath, and like Twister's base 40 damage, and
Mhm.
Dragon Bed is brace 60 with paralysis every now and then. So those are the only two moves it's weak against in the entire game. You know, you kind of got an Alakazam situation there in the making because yeah, you could hit it with an ice beam, but it'll still do neutral damage. So
Yeah,
like either go with a more powerful ice move to do neutral damage, or you go with your type weakness. You know,
I can
and even
remember.
then,
I can remember being so frustrated getting Kingdra because they're absolute bastards to kill, but I
yeah,
could never seem to get it to be effective for me.
yeah. So yeah, I'd say Kingdra then with that, and maybe Umbreon.
Umbreon was a bastard in Gen 2, and Umbreon was a bastard in Gen 4. So,
Yeah, and then eventually you have enough just enough strategies to be able to just plow through it, to break through its walls. Then you know. So, but yeah, in that to answer your question, I think I'd go with Kingdra. Because like it is a similar to in a sense where like the reason why Alakazam was so overpowered in Gen 1 was because it only has a weakness to three moves, and it's three moves that are the three weakest in the game, and usually are like being used by weak Pokemon. You know, like you're not going to keep a Gengar with Lick. You're going to use Nightshade, and you're highly unlikely to have a Jolteon with a bug that's going to have Twin Needle or a Pin Missile because they're all fucking poison types. So you're screwed. I was raging, by the way, that the Pupitar wasn't a dark Pokemon, because then I could have snagged the Pupitar here and just get rid of my Hariyama for good.
oh, that doesn't happen for a good
I
time.
know, I know. I let a man dream, James, for God's sake. I knew they wouldn't waste a fucking pseudo this early in the game, like you know.
I mean, they've literally handed you two legendaries so far.
Yeah, but they were, to be fair, like tricky enough to do. Like you had to actually like sacrifice your battle in order to do that, you know. And as I said, like that's more of a kind of a way to ensure that your follow-up battle is substantially easier in the future. Like,
Oh, oh, Fortress. Again, I want it to be useful on my own. So, as a 10-year-old, you're not going to enjoy having a defensive wall.
mm,
That's just that it's never going to be something you're going to say like, "Yep, I'm going to go for the stall tactics."
yeah,
It's like so it was one that was awkward to kill, but awkward. Sorry, yeah, awkward to kill and awkward to use yourself.
mm. Like yeah, like it's we're in a weird way. Fortress was around when like you didn't quite like this whole shit about spikes and setting up and all this sort of stuff was still relatively new. So it's like it as a 10-year-old, you're going, I don't see the point of this Pokemon. Whereas now you're thinking, oh yeah, no, I can set up my traps now and then just fucking go kaboom, or do like a gust or a rapid spin or whatever the fuck. You know, you can find a use for something like that. But obviously, better Pokemon have come since. That's better than Fortress at this. You know.